working with the team for such a long time, you must have so much trust.
I think about that as keeping their trust, because that's the hard part. If they lose it, then it's gone. It's a car ad, but we don't show a regular car ever.
Yeah.
Almost ever. People think we show up to an event for Launch Control and we have like a 10-person team or something. It's usually 2 or 3 guys running around in the woods.
Yeah.
There's not like a director and his production team. The director's holding a camera, but we were like Speed Vision. That's where all the car racing is.
Exactly.
You know where it is. And that went away because the internet showed up.
Yep.
And every time I hear a car, I move my hand, hit record, hope that it's the right car. And then if it's not, I just put my hand back because I got like a second and a half before the whole lens is covered in water.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, man, I didn't get a shot today. He goes, yeah, it's one of those events.
Today on The Creative Drive, we're talking to one of the key storytellers behind the way we experience motorsports today. If you've ever binged on an episode of Launch Control on YouTube, then you've seen his work. Raw, emotional, cinematic, and honest. Christopher Bowes helped redefine what a factory racing series could look and feel like for a digital audience, telling stories that go beyond just press releases. As a creative force behind Bowes Media, and now as Launch Control is on our new Racer Network, Chris is shaping the future of motorsports storytelling, from rally stages to how it's made. This one's about vision, integrity, and how content becomes legacy. So here, my friends, let's get into it. Okay, Christopher Bowes from Bowes Media.
Hey, man.
It's good to finally meet you. I've known your work, obviously, for a long time through Launch Control. Welcome to the show.
Dude, I'm very happy to be here. I think we were just, 2 seconds before the camera rolled.
Yeah.
We were kind of pointing out how we had like parallel history, just never connected. So
yeah,
I'm super stoked to meet you and to get on this.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show. You traveled all the way from Canada, and we're in the studio in Irvine. So, Launch Control. This is your show that you co-created with Warwick Patterson for Subaru. I first learned about the show because when I founded and co-founded and was running GT Channel,
right? And
Launch Control was on GT Channel.
Yeah, it was a boom for us because, Launch Control was built with no leader. It was this wild time. You think about the history of things like 10 years ago, and you're always going to think it's the Wild West. It hasn't been that long, but what we do now and versus what we were doing then felt very Wild West back then. We had been producing video content for Subaru, and we were getting frustrated back in the day that we would make a video, an event coverage video. I would work, 3 days nonstop to make this video, to get it out really fast after the production, after the shoot or the event. And it was cool. It was really compelling, but maybe the team didn't win or something. And we would get maybe the result's not good enough. We're not going to release it.
Right.
Like, well, could you have told us that 3 days ago? It would have been better. And we just came to the place where we felt like you can build fans without winning. And in fact, it's the fans you get while you're not winning that makes the victory better for them and for you and for everyone.
Yeah.
And we made the proposal to Subaru, like we should make a episodic show as opposed to just a highlight recap show.
And this was in 13, 14?
13,
right?
14, yeah. Yeah, I would have to double check my math. I think it's 13.
But this was like really before teams started to tell stories in the way that you guys started doing it.
Yeah, we had a few examples. Teams, no, I don't think so. I mean, maybe one team, we if you've never seen, I'm sure you've seen, Truth in 24.
Yeah. exactly.
That was like a beacon for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you got Jason Statham as the
Exactly.
host, you're gonna see it as a beacon. There was
Truth in 24 was like my inspiration too for a lot of the things that I did.
And Inside the Outdoors, is that what it was? It's like Inside the Outdoors. Yeah, something like that. It was like a behind the scenes of motocross. It was crazy and chaotic, but another example of like episodic behind the scenes docu productions that we saw as like comparison. Also, HBO at the time had just started doing 24/7 the road to the Winter Classic, and so there was some NHL stuff that we thought was interesting, but certainly not every team doing their own video series.
Like I don't think the NFL had even started that series that they do before the preseason. You know, that show that I don't think they even had that yet. Actually, what's that show called? The NFL show that they do. It's called. Do you know that show? No, you don't watch football. No, it's like this documentary that they do. They follow the team like in the preseason,
right?
And then they basically end the season of the show when the season starts.
Everyone's got potential and no one has results.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fun.
This is Racer, your all-access pass to the best in motorsports, performance, and car culture. Get Racer Plus for live races, extended highlights, breaking news, and fan-favorite build and enthusiast shows, all in one place. From Formula Drift to off-road mayhem.
The full-blown nail-biter.
Supercars to grassroots brawls. Garages to rare collectors. Stream it all, anytime, anywhere. This is about machines and the people who move the culture forward. And when the screen fades, the story continues in Racer Magazine, a collectible trusted by champions, creators, and connoisseurs. Every page, a deeper dive into the soul of speed and performance. Racer Plus and Racer Magazine, the ultimate bundle. Built for the obsessed, powered by passion.
Anyway, so we set out to do that. At the time, the Motorsports director or manager for Subaru of America was this guy, James Hahn. And we said, this is what we want to do. He said, go ahead and make a sample, bring it to the first event. We'll look at it. So we did a pre-season production all on our own dime, like just sort of like, let's just pay what it has to do to kind of make something. And that's basically the first episode of Launch Control ever. Yeah. We showed up at Snowdrift, which is the first event of the, at the time would have been the Rally America Championship. Yeah. And we're sitting in the lodge where the team was staying and we're playing it for him. And he's like, let's do this. And then literally told us that he was resigning and leaving Subaru. So we get this mandate to go do this thing. Right. And then there's no one leading the program. They didn't have someone to replace them. It took months. And by the time we had produced half the season, they finally hired the next Motorsports manager. And it was a blessing because...
Was that Rob?
That's Rob Weir, yeah. And it was an amazing opportunity for Rob, I think, because if the show was bad or seen badly, he could be like, that wasn't my baby. I don't like this thing. Let's can it.
Right.
Or if it was a success, which it was seen as a success, he could take credit. Yep. First year of the show, my first year in the biz, you know, he's got a pat on the back. Yeah. And, it allowed us to have the freedom to just go do it. No one told us what to make. No one told us how to make it. We just went and did it. And it led to that. And then, I think Rob had to do with the connection with GT Channel, and we started to see the views get amplified, and I think we got it on Roku and a bunch of things. And so all of a sudden the audience was something significant, and Subaru hadn't seen something like that. So it opened the door, and we went and made that season not knowing if we were going to do 1 season or 10 seasons or whatever. And that's just how it went. And so like GT Channel definitely played a role in that.
Yeah, well, I was happy to see it, and when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, it's like, of course you guys can have it, on the network, because we were sort of starting to think about using the channel in that sort of way as well as a network. It was, GT Channel was always a car video network, so not everything that on the channel had to be ours. If our audience could enjoy it, why
Yeah.
not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that has sort of always been my position. I'm an adopted motorsports fan. I wasn't born into it. My family were not racers. There was maybe 2 years when, as a Canadian kid, where Jacques Villeneuve was awesome in Williams, where I paid attention to F1. But like, I just didn't have that upbringing. And I came about it sort of the back door. I went through, film school and worked at an ad agency and really hated it. And I kind of got offered a job, a really wild thing. A girl I went to school with, her dad, she said, "Oh, my dad works for this company and they have this TV show for ESPN that has to get produced in 6 weeks and they need an editor really bad. And their editor quit and is going to Italy to go work on some other thing." And he's like, "They want to meet you." Okay, so I go meet them and they say, "Well, I don't need you to know anything about rally, but I need you to know how to edit. I got a kid who knows everything about rally. If you can work with him and make a show and deliver it to ESPN on time, you have a job." It was a Hail Mary pass. And I didn't even understand what I was making. At the time, I was making the first ever rally program that led into the X Games.
Okay.
The first year that X Games was going to have rally.
In the
They did
Coliseum.
that was the final
Yeah,
stage, but
yeah.
they did a whole like race leading up to it.
Okay, yeah.
And to get into X Games, you had to compete in the Rally America Championship. So I was working for a company called TV to Go. They were hired by ESPN to make the Road to X Games sort of episode where we would get to, for people who wouldn't have known, get to know other guys than Travis Pastrana and Ken Block. They need to learn, all the other guys, the Reese Millans and the Lachlan O'Sullivans and the Matt Iorios and all the other people that were going to go to X Games. So I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about the sport. I just knew how to click through Final Cut. And the kid who was hired to work with me was this guy, Alan Ockwell, who now is a 5-time Canadian champion co-driver. He ran with Pat Richard, who is a national champion, won a couple American championships too. And that guy kind of walked me through the sport, and I got a hands-on thing there. I had a job, and for the next couple of years, I was field producing and editing the Rally America content for ESPN and then the Canadian Championship. And so I kind of came into the sport, backwards.
Yeah.
And I think that really tailored the thing that I do, which is try to get the people who aren't already into the sport. I mean, I can appreciate people who like talking about turbos and horsepowers and setup and all these fine details and boost pressures. And, there's so much that goes into racing that a true fan digs. But I think what builds successful series are when the grazers decide to stick around, the people that watch F1 religiously, they watch it no matter what. Why is it so big right now is because Drive to Survive came around, and those guys are calling their significant other, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, come watch, come get into this, and they get into it. And then you see how a sport can become super popular.
Yeah.
And that was always my position is, can we get the whole family to watch, not just the dad who's super into it. You know?
Yeah. It's about the story, right? And then the characters, right?
And I mean, GT Channel was maybe more focused towards drift and some other things, but because if the story's interesting, then like, okay, we can do some rally and it fit. And it felt good.
Yeah. No, totally. How did you? So you came up through traditional, filmmaking, right? And filmmaking school. Did creating a series for rally present a different kind of challenge for you, though, in terms of production and how to think about building the story?
Well, I would say rally is like the hardest kind of motorsports to tell a story on. It's so deep in the woods. You have to know how to manipulate the event more than you have to know the event. You kind of collect, it's like unlike on a circuit where you see who's leading and who's not, and you see when someone falters and when they don't, you can't do that in rally. You have to sort of data collect. You have to have as many onboards on all the cars as you can. With Subaru, we just focus on those guys. But in Canada, we did we were the broadcast partner for the Canadian Championship for a decade. And, we're just GoPros in everyone's car. And then we would just try to collect as many shots as we could from as many angles as we could. And then you have to look at it after.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. And you have to know what you're looking for. There's times where you will watch an onboard and from the GoPro, it doesn't look like much. Like they have a little, oh my God. Yeah. And it's a minute moment. And that ends up changing the whole rally. I think of, Ken was very capable of going on tilt. He would have a bad stage or something, and then you could see him get mad.
Yeah.
And you could see the reaction. But you have to dig through onboards, dig through moments, and kind of compile that content. It wasn't so in your face. That's the challenge of rally. Yeah. And how do you contextualize all that information and package it into a compelling way? Because, unless you're really deep into rally, it's going to go over your head. You're going to miss it.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you, what's the process of building an episode, for example? So you gather the footage, right? And the audio and everything you have. What happens after that?
Well, I would say today it's different than it was before. Early launch controls were really like one episode, one event. And maybe there was a little, like we went with Bucky to this place or this thing, but it was like, okay, this event is that episode. So in that one, you basically already go in with your key points. So-and-so's leading the championship. So-and-so's on tilt. Someone needs to get max points and something bad has to happen, or, so where the pressure points are. You collect all the information and then you try to decipher how they're reacting. I don't think you can, you almost like write an episode knowing that this is how this is going to play out. And it's almost like reality TV where you create the story arc. You're not sure which player is going to win and falter or whatever, but that these pieces are going to plug in here.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of do it like that. Today, we try not to do single episodes as single events. And so we wait a lot longer to start making the episodes because there's so much more context we're trying to add. Mm-hmm. Something that happens in a first race or two may not seem like much, but by the 7th race and the 5th episode, it has a great significance and you don't even recognize what that is. I'm thinking this past season, Travis coming back after injury, we could see that there was something off, but it wasn't clear to us. And then he quits randomly, and then we're in the team. We have all the communications that pretty much everyone has, and we're surprised by it. Yeah. I was in New Zealand filming with Brandon because he was doing a race out there. Mm-hmm. I think I'm doing a travel doc with Brandon and Keaton telling this cool story, how they're going to race this vintage Subaru in New Zealand. It's going to be amazing. And all of a sudden, we're sitting at testing and I'm just like, and Brandon's like, yo, Travis quit. And I start getting texts. It takes me a while actually to even recognize that I need to be rolling. Because we're at this test and it wasn't really supposed to be I was just using it to get a couple extra shots that we might stick in the show. Yeah. And, it wasn't really part of the storyline. I was like, oh man, I need to stop hitting the stop button. Like the red light needs to be going because I'm recognizing that Brandon is going through testing and he's just, his mind is somewhere else. Like, what is happening in North America while I'm over here? And like, how do I focus on getting this car prepared while this whole thing is happening? And,
now that's part of the story all of a sudden.
Because, suddenly race 2, crazy important. Yeah. We didn't quite understand it. Now we've done race 3 and now we're in New Zealand on race 4, basically, and recognizing that what happened in episode 2 is actually way bigger than we realized. So if you don't craft that story till now, then you have a much clearer vision of it. But if you start cutting right away, you don't understand what you're making. Yeah. So you can have to do things over. So that's the newer process, trying to like find context in what happens.
Yeah. So it's more theme driven than like race, summarizing a race per episode, right?
It's amplifying the idea that we cheer for people, not cars. Yeah. And it's something we were already doing, but I think we just, as the landscape of motorsports gets more savvy and the fans that are watching are more diverse, expanding to this way. And obviously there's influences from Drive to Survive where you can see them compiling content from different events. We try to kind of take that on. Yeah. But that's how that goes. So it's a different way of crafting. Yeah.
I love it when things like that come together, when you're starting with something like you have like an incident that might be small, but it's maybe not enough to highlight. And then it starts to enter itself in its own way.
You don't even understand.
Yeah, when you're shooting it, you don't know, but when it comes together at the end, it's so rewarding, though.
And then for us particularly, we have been given so much. I don't want it to seem like we're not being given freedom by Subaru. We have absolute freedom. They don't tell us what to make at all, and that's amazing. But at some points, I'm thinking of a couple of years earlier. This was during Rallycross. Scott makes the decision to, if he throws a race, he can be in a better position with Travis when it comes to the main race day. And they make a decision to throw the race. And I'm filming the whole thing, and I'm getting tapped on the shoulder. Hey, don't film this. Hey, don't film. We don't want you to film this. I said, this is coming out in 6 months, And you're trying to fight them off a bit, saying like, if I don't get it, we don't have it. And if I have it, we can always decide not to use it if it isn't compelling. But we really push through that stuff, and that is a challenge because the team wants to portray themselves in the best light possible.
Of course.
But I mean, what came out of that example was that, winning and racing comes in all forms. And just because you do something that maybe in the moment doesn't look popular, but it's the smart thing to do. Yeah. And if it pays off, if it doesn't pay off, oh boy, you've stuck your neck out. Scott really stuck his neck out in that moment. So like, I believe in me and I believe in Travis, and we're going to do this. But it's still a risky move. And so you're like capturing it and you're like, oh, I hope this pays off because it's going to be gold if it does. And it did in that moment. It was really fun.
Well, that's great. You don't have any censoring or any kind of like direction from above, though. I mean, that's really, if you want to portray something in an authentic way, that it just has to be that way. When someone is like looming over your shoulder, there's no way you can create something that is going to be compelling.
Well, I think what they did was, obviously, they have guys like Travis and Brandon who are good, kind, generally wholesome people. Scott, who is a total professional, presents himself as such. A team, VSC, which is, grew from a family, small sort of like compact group, and they're much bigger now, but the roots of them is still run by Lance Smith and they're good people. So you're just, you continue to see that like they don't need to be censored. They're out to win, and that's compelling. And Subaru doesn't have to pull those triggers. I mean, sometimes we get asked to remove a shot because it shows some proprietary tech that might be in the engine or something that they're not really ready to show the public, or these things. But I mean, to me, I don't flinch on that because they're not censoring story. They're just censoring like, well, we don't want to give away our secrets, and I respect that.
Yeah. Working with the team for such a long time, you must have so much trust. And sometimes do you feel like, am I capturing too much of like vulnerability, or, there's a little bit of that too, isn't there?
You see that evolution for sure.
Yeah.
Season 1, they didn't know what we were making, and they were smart on camera. They were silly at times. We'd put outtakes at the end of the episodes often because there were so many just goofy moments with, with like David Higgins and stuff. But then you see in the future episodes, you could see like, oh, they really use that stuff. And you start to see them like censoring themselves a little bit. And then, and then they're a little too guarded for a while, and then they kind of forget to be guarded. And you see this sort of ebb and flow.
Yeah.
For me, I think actually you asked if it's about, I think it's the trust that they have in me. And I'm not talking about the team or Subaru. I'm talking about the individual people. I mean, I need their trust.
Yeah.
And I think about that for every single mechanic who's not, they didn't sign up to be stars on a TV show. They're just race techs.
Right.
Who happen to be now on a show. But then I think of guys like Travis and Scott, who, I mean, I'm getting the dirt. I'm getting unfiltered content. And if I burn them, I'm not going to get the access I want. Yeah. So I do think about those moments like Scott throwing that one heat race.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I knew it was sensitive. And so I was like, well, I want to tell the truth. And I think it's crazy compelling. And I think if I frame it appropriately to represent how they felt and what they were trying to do, people will understand. And so in that moment, they actually got in trouble at the end because they actually went out and said it on the broadcast. Well, we threw the race, and so it's better for us. Right. And they got fined. They had to give, I don't know, something like 10 grand to charity or whatever. And so we put that in the show too. Okay. Yeah. A little slap on the wrist. You get the fine, but good for you on smart racecraft. And maybe the series needs to rethink how their rules are written. Right. It'll tighten up that little rule book. Anyway, it was a cool moment. So I think about that as keeping their trust, because that's the hard part.
Yeah.
If they lose it, then it's gone.
Yeah. It's their trust in you, right? And you have to make sure that you do the same too.
Yeah, but if you're full of it as well, they don't want that either. Yeah. If you sugarcoat everything and make everything look too easy or too, I don't know what, too hygienic. Yeah. That's not their experience either. So how do you? It's the balance of that. Yeah.
So you've been doing this for over a decade, right, with the Subaru team, Launch Control. Yeah. What's been the most challenging thing that you've had to face?
The challenge is, I think, how did The Simpsons do like 40 seasons? Yeah. And how does, some of the, Seinfeld stopped after what, 8?
How do you keep it exciting, right?
Yeah, you gotta evolve. You have to rethink what you're doing, and it's the balance is trying to, be true to what the show was. I mean, I can play the last season and I can play the first season, put them side by side, and I mean they're a world apart. But you see some elements, you're like, yeah, it's still Launch Control. That's still that thing, and I don't get a lot of feedback from core fans that are saying like, yeah, it's not what it used to be,
Okay.
There are people that, we changed the voice this year. So we had the same voice for 9 seasons. And basically the original concept of the show was that they wanted to win a championship in rally and rallycross. And it took them 9 years to accomplish it. And at that point we were like, well, I think that show's run its course. And we tried to retool the brand of Launch Control into like sort of silos where we do event recaps and special edition episodes and build episodes and try to make it a wider delivery. And in some ways, I think it was really interesting, but I think the fans ultimately were like, no, we like the original. So after a few years of doing that, we came back to the original, but you can't just come back and do the same thing. So in that moment we had to like, okay, how do we retool it? We thought, for one, the voice is such a linchpin part of it, because during those 2 years where we stopped doing what I would call original Launch Control, the number one comment was bring back the voice, bring back the voice. So now we're going to bring back the voice, but are we bringing the same guy back? We asked him, we said, we're considering a different voice. We'd still like you to audition. And he actually told us that he retired.
Okay.
So he was out of the running.
All right.
So we're changing the voice no matter what. That's interesting. What is the new voice? What's the new brand? How do you evolve something that has a 10-year history? And how do you bring it back? Don't alienate anyone who's been begging for it to come back. Get people to sign up for the new version of it, 2.0 or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That was insanely challenging.
Right.
And we went through some wild iterations of different logos. We went through, probably 200 voices trying to find the guy from, we were thinking of like, we wanted the voice to have more of a character. The original voice is very much like your straight up, deep
Jason Statham.
Very straight American. Well, this is Launch Control.
Yeah.
We wanted to evolve it. We looked at like, do we get, an Ice-T character, like a black dude from the Bronx? Do we get a, because that's not so far from Vermont, so maybe there could be that energy. We thought maybe we get a, Southern American accent or whatever. And as we went through it, we just actually ended up at Andrew Coley, who is the voice of, was the voice of Nitro Rallycross, is the voice of World RX Rallycross. British dude, not a deep voice. If you see his race calls, he's kind of like high pitched screaming, and he talks insanely fast, but he's lightning in a bottle. Yeah. And he actually told us he didn't think he could do it because we were asking him to slow down and do documentary pace and bring it into, be yourself, but bring it into Launch Control a little bit. And we just felt like he spoke rally, and we felt like he could be there. And when we told him that he got the gig, he's like, I've been watching this show since day one. I'm a massive fan.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
get to say those words. And this is crazy exciting. So anyway, that rebrand, that was such a big thing for us. Yeah. For this show anyway, to try to make it come back to a place where people could be happy.
Yeah, cool. So Racer recently acquired MAV TV, which is Racer Network now, and Launch Control is actually on Racer Network as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about that and the platform and the reach that the show is getting now?
I am incredibly stoked for Racer. I'm incredibly stoked for Launch Control. I think in the world that we're in right now with social media and AI and all this stuff, people are looking for places where they can find a grouping of the things they want. It's weird. I look back at 15 years ago. When was Speed Channel or Speed Vision around? Like, that was a long time ago. That was but we were like, Speed Vision, that's where all the car racing is. Exactly. You know where it is. And that went away because the internet showed up. Yep. And now it's like the internet's here and AI's here, and so much is just generated and very, very shallow and not a lot of depth and content that I actually think the reverse effect is happening, where people are like, no, I need a place where I can get what I'm looking for all the time. And I think it's really cool. I think Racer Network obviously is a way more specific branding than MAV TV, which is I think who they acquired. And what a clear call for us to gather in one place. And for Launch Control, I think it's cool. I don't know how much docu racing stuff you have yet, but to be on there and I think it was a great fit. So.
Yeah, we hear that a lot with the internet, right? And YouTube and everywhere, and everyone can create content. The algorithm basically decides what you're watching now, right? So if you know that you only want to watch, racing and motorsports and things pertaining to cars and car culture and motorsports, you just want to go to one place and not be interrupted with, all the other BS that's out there.
And you want it to be real stuff.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Now AI can generate 10 times the post a real person can, but it has no value to a real racing fan, or I would even argue to someone who's racing adjacent who kind of likes it. They recognize that this is pretty shallow stuff. Yeah. This is just, okay, so the guy did a burnout or.
Yeah. And next thing you know, you spent 30 minutes just watching garbage,
Right.
Yeah.
And and the thing that I think I mean, I think everyone's coming around to it. The sponsors are too, is you have to then ask the impact that viewer got out of those 30 minutes. They siphoned through a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Did they retain any of it? What actually had a lasting impression on them? It's really hard to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, so then you add something where there is a place for real meat, and like people are craving steak.
Yeah. So do you actually go to every single round to shoot yourself, or
back in the day? Yeah, for sure. It's evolved. My business has grown over the years. Bose Media. I didn't really care about the name so much. Sure, it's my last name because it was basically me and another guy working with Warwick and his company, Formula Photographic, and we would run through the woods. We were at every race. Yeah. Life takes over. I'm married with 2 kids. It's hard to be gone that often. Yeah. Our team is expanded. We have more clients, and so my role evolved. I still go to some events. I'm actually the reason I'm in LA is because I'm filming for a project that Subaru has going on in LA that I don't think I'm allowed to discuss. But all that to say that when I cherry pick the opportunities to go where I think like maybe a little extra attention could be valuable, and where there's less opportunity to reevaluate the content. Whereas rally episodes, sort of the same structure, collect it all and build it later. So I'm definitely still in it. I try to pick my battles, but main interviews and all those things. When it comes to story crafting, I'm definitely involved.
Okay. What's your team like right now, and what kind of other projects are you working on?
Our team, we have I say a half dozen full-time or regularly full-time, but throughout the US and Canada, we probably have 30 or so freelancers as well that we draw on depending on the project. And our projects vary from, we also, as largely a post-production facility, which is the main part of our business, we work with other production companies. So we end up doing a lot of work for Red Bull. We've done some stuff for Toyota and Subaru. There's Outside Network, or Outside TV, Outside Watch, sorry. We did a bunch of projects with another production company in Canada for that. We do some corporate stuff. We've done a really fancy video for Cisco, which you wouldn't think a tiny little business like us would be involved in. But, that's sort of how it's just diversified, and it's just sort of how the business has gone.
Yeah. But your niche is in automotive, right? And
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up playing sports, so whether it's racing or hockey or whatever it is, the drive for excellence, like that last 10%, the last 2%, it's the stories I find the most compelling. It's where I want to spend my time, and it's what I like the most.
How do you think brands have evolved in terms of storytelling?
Yeah. There's so many infinite ways that it's evolved. I mean, that it used to be cool to have a sticker on a car, and now, okay, there's your rock star sticker. Let's go, and it's just not enough anymore. Brands want to see visibility. That's obviously the easy check mark. And then there's the lasting impact part of it. And that's where they see the real impact of the money they spend. I mean, to come back to Subaru, why would they continue to invest in this show? It's our numbers are good. Yeah. But they're not, insanely, they're not Gymkhana good. Or,
nothing is
or Red Bull good,
Right.
In terms of that world, like it's a pretty like niche audience that we're collecting.
Right.
But, I think you can find when you get past the quantitative and start looking at the qualitative stuff, when people see a Subaru, go like, oh, that's a rally car.
Yeah.
And there's just like a known commodity to it that is greater than just the basic understanding. And that's what Launch Control is.
Yeah.
It's a car ad. but we don't show a regular car ever, almost ever. And we don't spend a lot of time pointing out the features of the race car that look like the regular car. It just isn't what we do. It's a more of an emotive brand identity that's being played out. You know, they sent us to New Zealand to film a car that's 20 years old that you can't buy because it's basically an Impreza, early 2000s or 90s Impreza, with an H6 shoved in it. So it's not even a car you could ever possibly own. They just see that that's valuable in one way. It's just culture and heritage. And that's where the greater value is. And I think that's what, you know, a brand that's really into racing or into motorsports, and that's what they're looking for, is that deeper connection.
Where does that understanding of racing heritage and emotion come from within Subaru? Do you think is it from the agency, or is it their headquarters in the U.S., or is it coming from Japan? Where does that understanding of the emotional value of Subaru come from?
It's an interesting question. I mean, there's obviously the heritage part. There's the WRC days, the Colin McRae, and then you can obviously see, like, we've been to Japan a few times. You know, there is the STI connection, and they still are racing in Nürburgring and a variety of things, and GT Cup, and, you know, there is a racing heritage there. The amazing thing is what is keeping the program together and the TV show and everything going is purely determination by executives at Subaru of America. They are the ones saying this is worth it, because I think they recognize, you know, they do a lot of love campaigns and dog campaigns, and the other side of that is this. And it's not hard to see. You go to a rally, and they're all there to see the rally cars, and they all pulled up in their Outbacks, you know, like, and their Foresters and their whatever, and their Crosstreks. So the math is simple. You go to a rally and it's everywhere. So I think they just see it as good common sense. Obviously there's, you know, numbers and there's budgets and everything that has to get accounted for. And even then, them who invest so much in rally, I think they are always crunching those numbers, and it's challenging. From the outside, it just looks like they have infinite budget and they're doing everything. But, you know, the work that goes behind trying to be cost effective and get the most out of their marketing budget and make it all work it's a massive challenge, and it's complicated and ever evolving. And I've never had a year where the problems that we're talking about or trying to work out are the same from the previous years. They just never are.
Right.
So, but the drive to be involved in motorsports is really coming from that head office. Which is, I don't know that every car company can say that. A lot of it, the time, it's a marketing department or a marketing agency that says, I have this cool idea for this project. No, this comes from them. In fact, their agency is, I don't think, very involved in the program at all. And certainly not involved in our part of the project.
Because the mass market advertising and marketing doesn't involve any of the rally.
No.
Even a single drop of rally.
Maybe once every 3 or 4 years they put together an action reel.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's so... But it is a niche, right? And Subaru has been really great at finding that market that appeals to them. Say the dog market, for example, right? Like they went full on with dog owners, right? And so maybe the rally thing is another thing. They found the niche and they just went full on with that, and they just said, we don't need to talk to the regular sedan owners and the truck owners, right? They don't need to appeal to a lot of these groups.
I think it comes down to not everyone can own a WRX because it just doesn't fit their life, but they respect that part of it and they love it, or they're into it or whatever, or sometimes not at all. They just think it's cool that I drive this thing over here and over there, that thing's happening. So, it isn't a key part of their branding. in past years, we've had these sort of marketing meetings with some of their marketing execs and the race team and us, and have attempted to kind of divide up those silos are really sort of separated, and how can we merge them and get closer? And we make some progress, and it's interesting to hear the perspective that they have and how they're coming to these choices. But at the end, we're not to toot our own horn. We're doing a lot with very little. People think we show up to an event for Launch Control and we have like a 10-person team or something. It's usually 2 or 3 guys running around in the woods. There's not like a director and his production team. The director's holding a camera. Okay. And the other 2 guys are quote unquote field directors. And they're out there trying to get race action. And like, there's no one telling anyone, I mean, other than having a movement plan, there's no real, everyone's just going and getting. So there's no weak spot on this team. And we have to do it that way because there's 9 races. And then we want to do other things that aren't connected to the races. And the editing is like, we're doing a full season on the budget of some people's 1 episode half-hour show. It's a lot of money nonetheless, but it has to go very, very far. So I would think if the agency tried to get involved, I don't even know it would be worth their time. It takes a nimble team to do this.
No,
and I think that's a big part of that.
I think so. And that part is hard to understand for someone who's watching the show, I think, or just like looking at it and saying, oh man, this is really good quality. This is good storytelling. They must have drivers and craft service and, right. But actually it's,
we go buy the loaf of bread and the jar of peanut butter and you're like eating between shots and it's really a tiny team.
No, I get it. And with, once a team gets a little bit larger, I feel like the essence of the storytelling also gets diluted as well, because the more people you have in a storytelling environment, right? When you actually have the person who shot the footage editing something or being really involved, who's there putting the story together, you don't miss anything, right? When you have assistants and guys bringing you coffee and you're sitting in the,
you're busy
trailer,
like schmoozing the client instead of like getting under the car while the guy's ripping out the transmission.
Exactly.
It's a different world.
You can only touch the surface that way.
In some ways I look at the early launch controls and I think like we'll never touch it just because it was me and Warwick. And we just edited and we shot it and we did everything. And it was like our baby. It was the only thing we did for the whole year, like it was all it was. And obviously we grew from that. But I mean, I even if I'm not at every event, we have debriefs and we limit the number of people who are like our story leads. So that's usually only 1 or 2 people. If it's not me. And those pieces are really delicately crafted. Like you have to commit to the beginning of the year saying, hey, you're going to be at all these events and you better be at 90% of them, or you can't do that job. So we're really fortunate the last couple of years. This guy Gage and Anthony have been our lead story getters, and they've done a great job transitioning for me. They're also in Montreal, so the 3 of us are really tightly connected and lots of phone calls before the event. And I'm usually, I can try as hard as I want to be away from this thing, but I'm sitting on my couch refreshing the scoring apps and like texting, like, hey man, what happened? Why did he, just a flat tire. Okay. But what about, have you gone over to Lance and got this interview? And what, like, it's just a constant discussion. So we're never disconnected. It's not like that. So how do you bring the new guys in? Like, what do you look for when you're bringing a new guy into the team? No one ever comes in to like be a storyteller, story person. They come in as an action shooter. Even then, they need to be taught because there's just a straight up safety part of this. We send you to the middle of the woods where there's no like safety person saying like you're gonna die if you stand there. So we have to really teach them the safety rules and get them on board. And they need to see a few instances go bad where a car goes off and you're like, oh, see, that's why I don't stand there, and kind of they've got to evolve into this. And then from there, we just kind of it happens naturally, like. You just start to see that they get excited by the story and then they have questions and ideas and they start bugging you and like, hey, have you thought? And you're just like, well, all right, I'm on it. Yeah. I've done this for a minute, but you just start to see that they have it. Most recently, Gage, who has been the lead on this for us, we found out after he started doing it that like him and his dad used to, watch Travis Pastrana videos every day, like as a bonding experience. Yeah. And he was so invested in wanting to be part of telling Travis's story in any way that it was just very clear that this guy could do it. And so he kind of grew into that role. So that was a big one. You just kind of see the person whose brain turns the right way. And then we have other guys who have been with us for a bunch of years and, who just, I can stand on the same corner as them and I'm holding a camera just like them. And just the art that they caught is just so much more unique than it's just, there's a purity to what they're capturing. And I just go, okay, well, dude, I have to stick you in the woods every minute of every day. Like you should never go to service and get an interview because your talent is wasted. Yeah. And so once you find those people that can do those things, you just like pray that they're going to be around for 5 years or more because you just don't want to lose them.
Right. Yeah. No, it's exciting to find those. Right.
Yeah. We've been very fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're hard to find too.
Yeah.
They're just, everyone's a creator now these days and everyone has a iPhone, and everyone's shooting, but it's hard to find those guys that know what to shoot.
And then they shoot for you and they do amazing work. And next thing you know, they're doing videos for other people. And then now they're not as available for your shoots. And there's just a constant flow of this. We've been really lucky to keep so many of them, but you can see how their talent just continues to shine and obviously people recognize it.
Yeah. So what kind of story or project have you done yet but want to do now?
There's a few things in the works for this year that we're hoping to do. I don't know how much I can talk about it, but a few things that it's interesting you brought up like racing culture. And my hope is that we're going to expand on the greater Subaru racing culture and automotive, culture. It's tough because I like, there's some shoots that we're working on that they're not necessarily locked in, but if they happen, it would be amazing. And I really do want, I guess your question was on the nose in that front, like, where does this culture come from? And I think race fans of yours and my age probably do remember the WRC days or early JDM era cars but kids today, they don't even know Seinfeld episodes. So there's, I referenced the movie phone one time and the kid looked at me like I was nuts. Yeah. And then it led us to like, well, okay, let's pull it up on YouTube. And he's like, why did you have to do that on just so lost in the whole thing. And I was like, wow, nothing makes you feel old than when you start to do those references that you have. And anyway, so my thought is that there's a reason to remind ourselves of Japanese racing culture and how it's part of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So I really do hope we can execute that. I would love to see an expansion of the roots of why we're here.
Yeah. No, that's great. Racers expanding too to doing more car culture things. Yeah. The magazine really traditionally focused on basically what's happening in the paddock and, featuring Formula One, Indy, IMSA and NASCAR. But like through the podcast like this, we're talking about like, who's telling the great stories of motorsports and those kind of things. So maybe Racer Network could be a home for your new projects as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of room for that.
Yeah. So we have two segments at the end of the show. One of them is called the Creative Drive Rapid Fire.
Okay.
Got a couple questions for you.
Hey, this is not fair. I listened to a bunch of podcasts.
We didn't have
preparing,
this.
and none of this part was not on it.
These are new segments. These are
boy.
new segments. Well, you know my last question though.
Yep.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
so I hope you prepared for that, because some people
Maybe.
are like, we know they haven't seen the podcast when they get flustered when I ask them what their creative drive is. But this one is called the rapid fire.
Okay.
Section. This is a new segment that we just started. Okay. Your favorite racing film?
I mean, if I could say Truth in 24, but
It's got to be my favorite one.
Gotta be.
I really got into
and Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
That's
too.
so good.
The new Formula One movie. It looks pretty good too.
I mean, no one's
see.
seen it,
Yeah.
but it looks bonkers.
Okay. One episode that nearly broke you, but you're glad you finished.
Yep. Okay. This goes back a bunch of years. We went to Rally GB with David Higgins. Might have been season 4 or 5. Long story short, it was an anniversary of Colin McRae of some sort. I don't know if it was of his passing or of his last championship. I don't remember. But so Subaru USA put together a deal with the team out there. They made a tribute car, and David Higgins competed in the Group N class. We went out there. Warwick was there early with another guy on our team who's no longer with us. His name was Vince. And I was showing up the next day. So they went out to recce the rally stages to find camera positions and got into a head-on collision. And and everything's backwards. So his instinct was to turn right, and so did the other car, and they just Yep. So fun times. I get to the airport. I get in my rental car. And I get a call, hey, we're at this hospital. We need you to come get us. We don't have a car anymore. So we went there, collected the guys, mostly battered and bruised. Vince was maybe a little worse off than Warwick. But, next day we went out to David Higgins Rally School, filmed there, did a whole bunch of behind the scenes of the car, and then filmed the whole event, 3-day long event, good 16, 17, 18-hour days every day, massive days. And culminated with the last day, sort of like a half day. And I remember there was the commutes, the transits to the stages were really far, like good 2.5 hours. And I remember having to go out to this spot, and then I climbed up this sort of mountain to get this one shot of the car coming through, and it's just the ocean on the other side. And we weren't allowed to bring our actual open class rally car. So they had to build one there. So it's basically a stock car with a cage. And he had done amazing. He was up to 20th overall. It was a great result, but it had a stock exhaust. And so you didn't hear him coming.
Okay.
So we've been through hell and back.
Right.
Okay. And it's been days, and I'm hanging off the cliff. I've got one shot, and then we go back to the podium. This is my entire day.
Yeah.
And it's raining sideways, and I'm literally standing on the edge of this mountain. I have my hand over the lens, and every time I hear a car, I move my hand, hit record, hope that it's the right car. And then if it's not, I just put my hand back, because I got like a second and a half before the whole lens is covered in water.
Yeah.
And I do this 20, 30 times, still no David Higgins. And then I go, okay, I think I need to clean the lens. I start looking for my microfiber, and I don't hear him, and he went right by.
Oh, jeez.
3-hour drive there, 3-hour drive back, 0 shots.
Tears coming down.
Oh man, I was just, this is how this is ending. Yeah. Anyway, it was a great episode. And I got back to the podium, and I told Warwick, I was like, listen, man, I didn't get a shot today. He goes, yeah, it's one of those events. Yeah. So it was all fine, but like, I was glad to go home.
Next question.
That was not rapid. Sorry.
So favorite lens or camera setup?
I rock a FX6. I have for a couple of years. I think there are prettier cameras, Reds and Ari and Alexas, but this thing is so good in low light. If you're in the middle of the woods and really struggling, it just gives you such a range. It's a weapon, and I'm on Canon glass. One
person on a shoot you'd never want to be without?
One person on a shoot I would never want to be without. Wow. I would say, I have to say Warwick. We've been doing it a long time, and we don't actually get to be on shoots very often together because we usually divide and conquer. But it is, so I have moments where I miss the good old days.
Yeah, makes sense. Most unexpectedly emotional moment you've ever captured?
Unexpected emotional moment. This is something that has crept up on me now that I have kids. Travis does this thing that no one knows about, where we've tried to capture it a few times and we've got a few shots in, but Travis will give trophies to young girls in the crowd. Not on camera. He doesn't want to do it he tries to hide from people do it.
Okay.
So he'll go and he'll celebrate, and then he'll go find some girl who was excited for him and will give them the trophy and be like, maybe you'll win one of these someday. And he'll sign it and good luck to you. And it's just because he's a girl dad and he just wants girls to feel like they can do it. And I have a girl now. And one of the last times I saw him do that, I just, that she looked like my daughter. I could have been my daughter. And I just, I'm far more emotional about that stuff than I used to be. And I love that he's really trying to dodge me, and I'm really trying to get it, and it's a thing.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful though.
Yeah.
Dream subject you love to make a doc about?
I have a documentary that I am trying to make. And I don't have the money to make it, and I'm definitely trying to figure that out. In Canada, in the 2010s, the rally scene was this guy Antoine Lestage versus this guy Pat Richard, and basically for 5 years, the two greatest drivers in Canadian rally history battled. It was crazy. And that was when I was working for the series as like a on-site producer, and not recognizing how rare that was. And it's a cool story. On one side you have Antoine, who's like this ultimate professional, 2-a-days at the gym, eats clean, 6-pack, very fitness, rides bikes, and you name it, he does it. And he's methodical, calculated. And then Pat was sort of the opposite. He was like a redneck racer, cigarettes and and beer. Like we would do winner circle interviews, and I'm like, oh, can I interview Pat? And he'd be like, oh, 1 second. One sip of the beer, he'd hide them behind his black back. Oh yeah, great race. He'd do the whole thing. Anyway, they were just completely opposite. And there's just such a good story there.
Yeah.
And then it got cut short because Pat got a severe head injury from years of just being bashed around, and it ruined his career. It ruined everything. It ruined his marriage, his career, his business. And it took like the greatest rivalry in Canadian history and just eliminated it. So he's a bit better now, and he has good days and bad days. Both those guys are in the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame now. And I just feel that story never got told. And I've got them on board, and I've got everyone to do it, but I'm looking for funding to put the pieces together.
All right.
So anyway, that's also not a short story.
I'd love to see that. Yeah. Okay. Last question. If you weren't a filmmaker, what would you be doing?
Oh, my dad wanted me to be an accountant. I don't think that would have been it. My first career was I was going to be a drummer. I played in a band in high school, and in the Napster days, we had a little bit of recognition, and I ended up getting a development deal with Atlantic Records in LA, and did a bunch of stuff, and
So you would have been a drummer then?
Could have been, should have, maybe should have been, who knows?
Neil Peart's Canadian too, right?
Yep. Well, Billy Talent. Do you know Billy Talent?
No, I don't.
Anyway, maybe they're bigger in Canada. They were also on Atlantic Records.
Okay.
And they grew up down the street from us. So
wow. Okay.
It was a thing. We were all kind of together.
We have another segment. This is the final segment.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one I'm prepared for, I think.
No. This one's a new one too.
Oh no.
It's called Who's Boosting It Right Now. creator, brand, project, or event. Who's boosting it right now? So let's start with creators. Who's your favorite creator right now?
Favorite creator?
Yeah, like who's killing it right now?
Oh man, does it have to be motorsports?
No, it doesn't. It can be anything. It can
I'm
be
sadly addicted to chef reactions. There's this guy in New York, and he literally watches these terrible, like, making your recipes from home videos, and he just rates it out of 10 and decides if he would eat it or not.
What's his name? Do we know?
I don't know. It's called Chef Reacts.
Okay, Chef Reacts. Okay.
And he's hilarious.
All right. Brand. Which brand is boosting it now?
Brands that are boosting it right now.
Doesn't have to be motorsport either. It can be anything.
That's a good question. You've caught me off guard.
Yes.
It's hard to say that Red Bull's not doing it.
Yeah.
Every time I think I understand the landscape of Red Bull, they just find something else.
Yeah.
It's impressive how much they're able to shift constantly and continuously change.
Surprise, right?
Yeah. I mean, even down to like last year, they did a lot. I think they're still kind of doing them, these like show runs. They close down streets and bring all kinds of different cars.
Yeah.
And Scott Speed's been involved in it. It's like, it's just cool.
Yeah.
They just find ways to make exciting stuff. It's good on them.
Yeah. Event. Which event is killing it right now?
Events.
It could be motorsport. It could be car culture. It could be, it could be anything.
I'll give it to my second hometown in Montreal. The F1 in Montreal is, have you ever done that one?
I haven't been to Montreal.
F1. Man. It's, the city is a fun place in any time in the summer, but you throw F1 on top of it and the place is just on fire. And it's a great event on an island. Like, it's one of the, it's just so good. And there's so much happening. And even if you can't go to the race, it's really easy to be part of the energy just because you're in the city and stuff. It's awesome.
All right. F1 Montreal. All right, Chris, we have one last question for you. And you know this one? What's your creative drive?
I think my creative drive is obviously, going back to not being a true motorhead. It's still the story I want to tell. Is I'm trying to tell stories that motorheads and race fans like and don't think is BS. Like, they buy into what I'm saying and they think, yeah, that's pretty fair and true. But I want it to be wide enough that the outside people can take in. I want the girlfriends and the boyfriends and the kids to want to watch it too. I want it to be deep enough for the hardcore, but wide open enough for anyone to absorb it. And I think that's where motorsport shines. And when you see series and that manage to captivate wider audiences, that's where they really win. And I think that's what Launch Control is to a certain degree. We get into some tech, but we don't dig super deep into it. Yeah. There's other videos for that. Yeah. And I just think that there's room for those stories. And I hope I'm still doing Launch Control. I don't want to talk like I'm not, because I hope to continue to do that for a long time. But that project or any other project, it's always where my head goes is, how can we get the next layer of people to want to get into it and feel captivated by it. So that's always what I focus on.
Awesome. All right. Chris, how do people find your work, follow you? Where do they go?
I mean, obviously follow us on the Racer Network and watch the show. And obviously you can catch it on YouTube. And my company is Bose Media Inc. We're on Instagram and Facebook, Bose Media Inc. So other than that, we'll see you on the next project.
Okay.
Look for us in the credits.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for coming down, man. I've been a fan of the show for a long time, obviously, since day one. You guys are doing a really great job, and I really think it was something original that motorsports needed in Launch Control, and I wish for your continued success, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It means a lot for me. You've been around, you've seen a lot, and for you to value it is high praise. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for watching and listening to The Creative Drive, where we offer listeners a candid look into the minds of automotive creators and their journeys. The Creative Drive is available on all podcast platforms, and we have more awesome guests lined up for you guys, so please subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. If you're interested in partnering with us, or if you have any feedback, please email us at podcast@racer.com or DM us in our Instagram. The Creative Drive is produced by Molly Binks from Racer Studio, directed by TJ Keon, creative director George Tamayo, and edited by Andrew Snyder. We've got new Nick, OG Nick, and Morgan on the socials. I'm your host, Taro Koki. Thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next time.